Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about the fading influence of Western culture in China and share my thoughts on it. Where do I even begin? As many of you already know, China and the United States are rivals today on many different levels, from politics and military to ideologies and I don't know, maybe even tableware. But from what I remember in the past, China, America, and the West in general were actually good friends. So when I was in high school back in the early 2000s, Western pop culture was incredibly prevalent. Young people were listening to American music like Guns N' Roses, Nirvana, Linkin Park, 50 Cent, and Eminem's. We have American TV show, Hollywood blockbuster, and Disney movies. People were also generally crazy about learning English. I mean, literally crazy.
Chai, knees, sky.
High school in major cities prioritized hiring native English speakers as teachers. There were English corners everywhere and people would catch any foreigner they saw just to practice their English. I think some people still do that, but the whole atmosphere is completely different today. Nowadays, if you are from America, some people might view you as a spy, and I'm not even joking.
But he later admitted in interviews that he spent much of the journey quietly wondering if his passengers were foreign spies. Yang says he stayed polite and friendly throughout the ride while secretly observing them in his peripheral vision.
So back then, American represented entirely of the Western culture. The general impression, at least from my point of view, was overwhelmingly positive. It was seen as the most powerful country in the world across almost every spectrum. The younger generation in China simply admire America no matter what because we grow up watching American movies, listen to American music, and playing American video games. Then came the war on terror. We watched the news. The early internet community were flooded with video clips showing the overwhelming scale of US military power. That only enhanced the notion of a global superpower. I think the turning point roughly began around 2012 when China started imposing stricter media restrictions. Domestically, you couldn't have people with tattoos or dyed hair appearing on television anymore. They will literally blur out your tattoos or colorful hair. In some cases, they just cut those parts out of the show entirely to cancel people they didn't want you to see. Even so, American TV show remained popular for a while. You could not only watch pirate version, but Chinese media company were actually buying the streaming rights to shows like Bro Girls and House of Cards, etc., etc. When you watch this show, you were opening a box to a whole new world. You gradually learn the etiquette, the humor, the memes, the philosophy, and the ideologies behind the scripts. Essentially, Western cultures, people slowly started to understand and accept concepts like universal values. But the problem was the older generation, like my parents. They grow up in a totally different world, which is another complicated topic altogether. Anyway, this older demographic dominates. Many of them lack a formal education due to the impact of Cultural Revolution. Yet they hold most of the society's resources. In a word, they act like a bunch of conservative and control freaks who have the power to suppress and explore the younger generations. Basically, Chinese boomers. 这都是为了你好. This is for your own good. That's the classic Chinese parents' rhetoric. They believe that because you're young and naive, you're likely to make mistakes. So in order to protect you, they feel the need to censor all toxic content. Basically, they get to decide what you can read and watch. There was a time when we could connect to the actual World Wide Web. We have YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and the very beginning of the social media era. But they kicked them out one by one. Of course, they built domestic copies for every single one of them. For instance, Weibo is like Chinese Twitter. People, can still speak on these platforms, but you have to be incredibly careful about what you say. You have better align with the official narrative, or you could face a serious consequence. It takes a while to train your mind to adapt to this new norm. We even used to have a pride parade in Shanghai and state-owned news outlet openly supported sexual minority groups.
也在为这个社会辛勤地付出着。同性恋者和我们一样，都拥有在这个社会当中生存和发展的权利，并且这样的权利不应该受到哪怕是观念上的侵犯。 我们想对同性恋人群说一声，套用一句我们非常熟悉的话，我可以不认同你生活的方式，但我愿意捍卫你不同于我的生活的权利。
These days, they won't even allow gay dating apps or BL literature to exist. The people are still here, of course, but minority groups can no longer participate in any public activities. Furthermore, international news agencies and NGOs are largely gone. The parents, the big brothers, see this thing as a toxic Western culture invasion that must be stopped. Even Christmas decoration in shopping mall have face bans. Don't get me wrong, you can still see, Christmas decoration here and there, but the overarching sentiment is an effort to minimalize this cultural influence. However, just canceling foreign influence isn't enough. They also encourage homebred influencers to, create content to counter negative information from the West. This content mainly targets progressive ideologies like DEI, women's rights, animal rights, and liberalism. The content is often a mixture of conspiracy theories and populism, and ironically, some of it directly inspired by Western online conservative communities.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Do you understand that? Serious crap.
This is the most interesting part to me. It seems like, China isn't the only one shifting towards a more conservative mindset. In America, right-wing movements are also in full swing, abandoning some of the country's old identity, idealism, and values. For example, globalism used to be a positive word. It felt like we are the world. You might think it was just propaganda, but it had a genuine, influential, positive energy in it, depending on how you interpret it. And I was a believer. But now that you feel a bit betrayed because all of a sudden globalism has turned into a bad word, something dystopian. The West and America are no longer seen as trying to, save the world. Instead, they are building walls to keep people out. I have never been to America, so maybe it is easy for me to sit here and say this, but just like China historically built the Great Wall, people, everywhere are starting to believe in segregation again. From my personal perspective, or perhaps my wishful thinking, the West, especially America, was always supposed to be a safe haven for the exile. Now, America seems more aligned with China on a lot of these isolationist issues, threatening its neighbor and allies and acting like a bully. I remember being shocked by the sheer diversity and multiculturalism I saw in American movie when I was in elementary school, especially compared to the dull monoculture we have in China. It is only natural for kids to be attracted to a more vibrant, diverse culture. The psychological mentality here is very similar to what we seen throughout the history. The old Chinese revolutionaries wanted people to believe that imperialism, feudalism, and capitalism were, suppressing them, which was, more or less partially true, but they took it completely out of the context to legitimize their action, convincing, everyone to join the revolution and overthrow a corrupt government. But once they got into the power, well, we all know the outcome. It's the classic story of the dragon slayer eventually becoming the new dragon, if you know what I mean. The modern American version of the story is that, there is an evil international cabal of blood-drinking laser people from outer space trying to rule the human race. Therefore, we supposedly need these strong men, these patriots, to protect us, and we need to get them an infinity amount of power. But these so-called leaders and heroes are just villains in disguise, in my opinion. I know America isn't turning into China overnight, but the trend is pretty scary. Maybe it's kind of cliche to say this, but the image of the leader of the West is rapidly changing from a beacon of freedom to a selfish, despicable bad guy, at least from my point of view. I know some of you may say, oh, you shouldn't have believed in their propaganda in the first place, but honestly, whether it was propaganda or not, doesn't matter. What matters is that the message itself, was something I truly believe in and agree with. So ultimately, the fading of Western cultural influence isn't just happening because of anti-Western campaign abroad. It is also because, those very values are collapsing from within, in my opinion. Look, I'm not expert on these issues, and I know I can't fully unpack everything in just one short video. Maybe I should do a longer deep dive video in the future just to address all of this properly. But for now, those are just my thoughts lately, and I wanted to share with you guys. Leave me a like and comments below, and let me know what you think. See you in the next one.